have I locked the front door? So I've gone out for the day, did I lock the front door? And people kind of get that thought cropping up in their heads, and that's perceived as a threat.
So this video, which is control, is, do you want to remind me?
Yeah, control is the problem, not the solution.
How many times have I forgotten?
Oh, about seven or so today, so far. But it's fine.
It's fine. I should know what I'm doing. Do you know, my brain goes into a block, and sometimes I remember
certain things you just can't. For some reason, some things that I will stare at, and I just don't seem to be able to take them in. Other things, once, boom, yeah, brilliant. So, for some reason, control is the problem, not the solution. Is a block for you. It's a sign of age now. So,
So, do you want to give a brief introduction of why you wanted to create this piece of content? Why it was the next one?
Yeah. So, one of the issues that we suddenly often have is when we get a thought in our heads, because a lot of what ACT does is it focuses on language and cognition, which is how we talk and how we think. So when we get a thought, we often want to act on that thought in some way, shape or form. And that's brilliant a lot of the time. So we can take action to do something. And a bit like us, I had this thought of, I want to make sure that kind of all this stuff's going to be really good. So, working with you, we really made sure that it was, because when I looked at the first video and I wasn't happy, I was anxious about that. It wasn't the video, it was actually the content, I should say. Sorry, Byron. But we had a conversation about it, and it was like, okay, well, this is the first one we've done.
Yeah.
This is our learning. This is our learning experience. So, I went back, I changed the style, got over it, we took action, we dealt with it. But there's a lot of the time where we get thoughts and we can't necessarily take a particular action around that. It might make us feel uncomfortable, but there's no direct action that we can take. And it might be something as simple as, and I mentioned it in the video, which is things like, have I locked the front door?
Yeah.
So I've gone out for the day, did I lock the front door? And people kind of get that thought cropping up in their heads, and that's perceived as a threat. At which point they might be like, oh, I've got to go home and check because somebody might break in. And there's then this sort of inference of possibilities of things that kind of might happen into the future. But in reality, the likelihood of, the house being broken into during that period, or somebody trying to break in on the one day that you may have forgotten to lock the house, of which itself is probably like a far less than 1% chance, is pretty small.
Yeah.
But our brains aren't calculators.
No.
Our brains basically go, that's a possible threat. I need to take some action. Problem is that when you do take action, sometimes, if it's, in line with something that's not really that much of a threat, you just get more of it in the future. And there's like a little monkey that's kind of sitting on your shoulder and banging a drum saying, you need to be concerned about this. And the more you engage in the behaviour to control, the louder the banging gets the next time, and the next time, and the next time. And what you start to do is kind of shrink your world, because you start to either avoid things, or you try to in some way control the thoughts. Often the way we do that is through an extraneous substance, something like alcohol or drugs. Sometimes it's through distractions, so things like binge watching TV and all those sorts of things. But what ACT teaches us is that there is a way in which we can kind of be with those uncomfortable thoughts, which are often not very helpful thoughts, without engaging with them too much. And guess what happens? Paradoxically, that little monkey sitting on his shoulder banging the drum gets a bit quieter and a bit quieter, and we start to create a virtuous circle rather than a vicious circle.
Yeah.
And monkey gets quieter. What's not to like about the monkey sitting on your shoulder banging a drum getting quieter?
As long as he's playing a good tune.
Well, yeah, but it's not a good tune. It's just like a horrible pay attention to me kind of noise. At least that's how I imagine it anyway. But yeah.
Just another mouth to feed. I got enough in this house with all the animals. But it's
that's just the kids.
Fair little things.
Boom. Thank you very much.